G'day everyone, it's Wednesday evening. Well, it's actually Tuesday at the moment, but it's going to be Wednesday when you watch this video. That means it's time for Robbie Fishing Q&A. Rightio, I really look forward to my questions and answer segment every Wednesday. Let's get started. Tim, have a question. When spooling up braid to a baitcaster reel, do you put backing line on or do you just tie the braid straight to the spool? You should always use backing line. Use a little bit of monofilament, and the reason for this is because the braid will not glue or grip hold of the spool as well as what the mono will. So by putting on a few meters of monofilament line onto the bottom of the spool first and then tying your braid on, that stops the line from slipping. A lot of people have the problem when they tie the braid straight to the spool that no matter how tight they pull it, they can still turn the handle. What they're doing is they're turning the spool inside the line, but the line remains stationary. And whether it's a spinning reel, like an egg beater type reel, or a baitcaster reel, you should always use a little bit of monofilament backing to stop that line slip. The only exception is if you've got a fluted spool. In other words, if the spool on your reel has holes drilled in it, like one of mine does, I can actually poke the line through the hole and then tie it on, then it is impossible for it to slip. In that case, you don't really need backing. But if you haven't got a fluted spool, you should always use backing. And that's a great question, Tim, because I personally have seen a lot of people come unstuck by not using a bit of monofilament backing underneath their braid. Rightio, that's crooked. Horizon's crooked. Now, Kobe says or asks, I have been targeting a big Murray cod and haven't been able to hook. Well, I did hook one monster, but it snapped my rod in half. That's pretty bad, Kobe. I hope you got a new rod, buddy. Anyway, I just couldn't land him or hook another monster, so could you please make a video explaining where some of the bigger cod would be hiding and how to increase your chances of catching one? Thank you, Robbie. Kobe, that's a really good question, but I think you're asking the wrong bloke. I don't catch very many big cod. I think in here you've said where they are. I think you need to be down where the water's bigger and deeper. Lake Mulwala, they catch a lot of big cod. The Murray River downstream of Lake Mulwala, they catch a lot of big cod. In my area up around Wangaratta, they do catch the occasional big cod, but it's not known big cod water, so I don't catch a lot of big cod. So I'd be going to Lake Mulwala or downstream along the Murray, and to be quite honest, check out Rod McKenzie, Cod Mac. He's got a great Instagram page and he's got a Facebook page. Follow some of the stuff he does because he is the god of big cod. I'm handballing that one straight over to Rod McKenzie because he specialises in catching those enormous great big cod. He is so cool. What a little cutie. There, buddy. Stompy. Hey Robbie, what is the best lure for trout fishing? That's a hugely open question, mate, because everybody's got different opinions. Personally, my favourite is either the Strike Tiger Nymph in black with gold flake, or a Warden's Rooster Tail bladed spinner in the brown and white colour in grasshopper season, or this time of year the Fire Tiger colour. Warden's Rooster Tail bladed spinner is a great starting spot, or the black and white striped Tiger Nymph is one that I really like. There's a whole heap of fantastic lures on the market for trout, but they're just two of my favourites. I hope that answers your question for you, Stompy. Cody Young. We had Kobe, now we've got Cody. Hey mate, what size line do you use with your bait rods for Murray cod? That's a really good question, Cody. When I'm bait fishing, I don't like to use braided line. It's harder to tie the hooks and sinkers on with. It can be so fine that the hooks can actually come off. It can slip through the end of the eyelet where there's a gap that you can't even see with your eye. And if you get it snagged, it's quite expensive to lose. Some people will use braided line with a nylon leader. I couldn't be bothered with all that sort of stuffing around. So what I do, I just use slightly heavier line, but not too heavy. Most of my bait fishing for Murray cod is with line that's around about 10 or 12 pound. Once you start getting up over 15 pound, the line can get a lot of memory, which is the coils in the line. It can be harder to see if you've got a bite, if you've got a smaller fish biting your bait, and it can be harder to cast. But if you go much lighter than say 10 pound and you hook a bigger fish, it's just going to snap you off easily. In my area, I use around about 10 to 12 pound line normally. Normally I run 2 rods, one with worms and one with, say, cheese or a barty grub. And I put the cheese or the barty grub, which is the known cod bait, on the rod with a heavier line, and the worms will often go on the rod that's with line with about 4 pound on it. So in my area, around Wangaratta, I use monofilament line for bait fishing, usually around 10 or 12 pound. If I was going down below Lake Mulwala in the Murray River, fishing with huge big hooks and huge big barty grubs, I'd have to go something much heavier, probably 20 or 30 pound, I reckon. Moose Down Under. Check out, I'll give Moose a plug. Check out Moose's Facebook page, Moose Down Under. You can see him on, I'll get my head out. You should be able to see him there. What if I just touch that? That's Moose Down Under. Now I'll touch my face again to make sure I stay in focus. Moose is a really nice guy. In fact, I've got a Moose uploaded a video and he was yabbying with me a couple of months ago and we caught some yabbies and we had a great day. Check him out. Moose's question: what small field guide would you recommend for fishing in Victoria and southern New South Wales? It took me a while to get my trout cod and Murray cod ID right. Thanks, Moose. Moose, there is a guide that you can get. It's actually an online guide. You can go to the Victorian Fisheries Authority website and you can download, it might even be at the App Store or the Play Store or something. You can actually get, I'll see if I can find it on my phone here, right while I've got it in front of me. There it is, the Vic Fishing app. Look for the Vic Fishing app, and the Vic Fishing app is basically the Rules and Regulations handbook. That's the digital version of that fishing book just there. You see that? I'll come closer. So look for the Vic Fishing app, Moose, because that will give you all the information that you need to know. As for southern New South Wales, I'm not sure whether New South Wales have a fishing app or not. You'll have to research that one. Sorry, mate, that's just out of my area a little bit. But here in Victoria, definitely look up the Vic Fishing app, download it onto your phone, and that is just an absolutely invaluable tool when you are out fishing. Rightio, now I've got one here from Mark Baker. Hi Robbie, I'm wondering if it is even worth lure fishing the hours of 10 AM to 2 PM during the day for Murray cod, or if I'm just wasting my time. Some days it's all I have free to fish. You're on fire lately, mate. Cheers, Mark. Thanks, Mark. I'm loving it. I love filming. I love creating videos. I'm trying to get better and better at it all the time. But anyway, to answer your question, no, you're certainly not wasting your time, especially this time of the year. This is my perspective on the time of the day for Murray cod fishing. In the summer months, I like the low light periods, morning and evening. They're my favourites. But you're still catching during the day as well. Don't worry about that. This time of the year, I find the insect life, and this comes from my trout fishing background, the insect life is greater between the hours of 10 and 2, because that's when the day is the warmest. That's when the bugs have got their dry wings and they're flying. Once those bugs are flying, birds come to eat the bugs. The cod will look up to see the birds. The whole ecosystem is stimulated once that sun has got enough warmth to dry everything out. So this time of day, during the day, is definitely worth trying. Even in summer, you still catch cod during the day and you're certainly not wasting your time. I just prefer the low light periods. But between 10 and 2, mate, definitely you should give it a crack, I think. Absolutely. Now from Matty Boy. What is your favourite soft plastic lure to use for trout, redfin, yellowbelly, and why? My favourite soft plastic for trout is the striped tiger nymph in black and gold colour. The reason why is because if you go into any of these trout streams, you pick up a rock and turn it upside down, you will see underneath dark little nymphs walking around, just the larvae stages of insects that haven't grown to grey wings and fly away yet. You'll find them under any rocks and logs in the rivers and creeks. And I think that the striped tiger nymph mimics those little things that the trout feed on so much, and that's why I like them so much. For redfin, I like the 2-inch striped tiger curltail grub in white bait pearl. White lures have always been a good thing for me for redfin. I've always been a fan of white lures for redfin, and you can actually get red dye and dip the tail of the nymph, of the grub, in the red dye and make it even better again. And 2 inches is a good size all-rounder for redfin. Striped tiger 2-inch curltail grub in white bait pearl is my favourite. For yellowbelly, I haven't actually done a lot of yellowbelly fishing with soft plastics. I did do really well with a Z-Man shrimp a few years ago over at Lake Nillacuti, just bobbing it up and down off the bottom under a heavy jig head. That worked really well. I think you just want to find a soft plastic for yellowbelly that's not too small, maybe a 3 or 4 inch curltail grub or a 3 or 4 inch yabby or shrimp lookalike or something along those lines. I think that'd be really good. Something that's bigger than small but smaller than big, if that makes sense. Rightio, now I have 2 questions here from Billy O'Connor. Excited to watch your studio journey unfold. Thank you very much, Bill. I have 2 questions for you. 1, have you ever thought about doing a collab with another fisherman, with someone from another, even like in saltwater, etc.? Absolutely I have. I'm open to all offers. Anybody want to do a collaboration? Drop me a line. I'd love to hook up with somebody else and go for a fish and give each other a plug and collaborate. I think that'd be really, really cool. Question number 2, are you going to get a post office box so people can send you things, whether it be product reviews, plugs, or just gifts from your fans? I'm from Altona, so I fish for brim and flathead mostly. Hopefully I can get up your way one day and use your info and tips that you've given us. Thank you very much, Bill. Thanks for the kind words. I haven't actually thought about a post office. I tell you what I do a lot of though, and that is say no to people. And constantly got people asking me to, oh, can you use my spinner baits? Or what if I send you these spinner baits, if I send you a shirt, or if I send you a hat, can you use it? And I'm constantly explaining, look, I really appreciate your kind gesture, but I just haven't got the capacity to, sorry. Maybe what I should do is just get a post office box and just put a little link at the bottom. Send at own risk. Thank you very much for the great questions, Bill. That's actually, the more I think about the post office box idea, the cooler I reckon it is. And maybe I can then, if someone sends me something, I could review it and then give it away as a giveaway or something like that. I like that. Thanks for the great tips. As for the collaboration, if you've got a reasonable sized fishing channel, it doesn't have to be as big as mine, doesn't have to be 13,000 subscribers, but even if you've got 4,000 or 5,000 subs, if you want to do a collab, give me a buzz. I'm all keen. Rightio, a question from Shabadoo. Roughly what percentage of your fishing time is spent in spots you have never fished before? How much of your fishing time do you spend at favourite or hot spots? Thanks, mate. Keep up the good work. Thanks for that wonderful message, Shabadoo. That is really, really good. Usually with my cod fishing, I spend a lot of time fishing in the same spots because I live in cod country. I've got great cod fishing over my back fence, so I can get out whenever I like. So a lot of the time I'll just fish in my backyard, so to speak, in the similar spots for Murray cod. This year, most of my cod fishing has probably been in the same half a dozen spots, just because they're great spots and I like them and they've served me well. Trout fishing's similar. I'll often go to the same creek but fish different stretches of the creeks. I've got a half a dozen creeks that I fish from time to time, but I do also like to go and explore new places. There is known rivers and known waterways around my area that are just known to produce some great fishing that I've never even fished, because I don't need to, because I have so much fun at the spots that I already go. So I've got, I call them happy places, if you know what I mean. And I go to them. So to answer your question, I spend a lot of time revisiting favourite spots, but from time to time I do like to go and try new spots as well. And I think when I'm trout fishing, I generally tend to try new spots more frequently. Rightio, now this is a message from Benjamin. Hey Robbie, I'm from Canberra and my interest in catching cod has grown a lot lately, as I have only really fished for redfin. Just wondering if you're aware of any spots around the ACT. Also just wondered if you have any tips or techniques on fishing for cod in big lakes. I'd love to see my question answered in the next Q&A. But here it is. Thank you very much, Benjamin Flood, for that great question. Sorry mate, I don't know the Canberra region at all. I think I've been to Canberra like twice in my life. I know they're out there somewhere because I've followed other people like Dean Norbiardo and Raymond Dukovsky. Those guys catch some huge big cod up that way. Where exactly, I don't know, so you'll have to do a bit of footwork. Jump on Google Maps, look for access points to the rivers and go and do a bit of footwork and a bit of homework, mate. I'm really sorry I can't help you out more with that one. As for the lakes, I don't fish for cod a lot in big lakes. I've done a bit of fishing in Lake Whaler over the years. I guess the best thing I can do is tell you what I would do if I was going to try a big lake. If I was going to a big lake such as Eildon or Coathton or somewhere that I've never fished for cod, I would probably look for a steep-sided bank with lots of logs and lots of rocks and target my area around there. We all know that cod love structure, so it would seem pointless to trawl across an open grassy flat where I would normally target redfin. So if I was going to one of these bigger lakes to target Murray cod, I would be looking for a steep-sided, like steep banks with lots of hiding spots, lots of rocky outcrops, lots of logs and stuff and clay drop-offs. They're going to be spots where cod are more likely to hide. That's where I would be starting if I was doing it. That's not based on any experience because I don't have any experience in that particular area. And on the same screenshot, I've got another question underneath by Fart Clan. Fart Clan has been watching my channel for quite a while. Thank you very much for your loyal viewership, Fart Clan. Hey Robbie, my question is, do you need a long rod for catching cod? I've got a 5'6" baitcaster rod, which I caught my first cod on, but I'm wondering, should I get a longer one? Mate, basically, it all depends on your own needs. A longer rod will cast a lot further, which might be more suitable to you if you're fishing from the bank of a lake or in a really big river such as the Murray, where you really want to cast your line out as far as you can. In the smaller waterways that I fish, 5'6" is a really good length. Small and whippy, more versatile, getting under undercut banks and under trees and shrubs and make your casts. It all depends on the environment. 5'6" is great in a boat, great in smaller waterways, but if you're bait fishing from lakes, the 5'6" will work, but a 7'6" will throw your lure a lot further. So it depends on the environment that you're fishing, but 5'6" is certainly big enough. What's more important is the weight rating on the rod. Is it a 4 kilo or 6 kilo? You've said it's 5'6", but you didn't say how heavy it is. So if it's a 6 kilo rod or something like that and it's 5'6", that'll be more than adequate for most of your needs. Just remember, if you want to cast further, you might want a bit of extra length in your rod, that's all. This one's from Jared McMullen. Hey Robbie, I have a spot on the Bidgie where there is heaps of cod, but it is a sandy beach and I don't want to get sand on the cod and I don't know if lip grips or a net would be better. Can you help me out? That's a really good question, because sand on the cod. Sand isn't a bad thing to have on your fish. But try and, if you're going to lay it on sand, lay it on wet sand, cool, damp sand. Because when the fish are underwater, they actually rub up against the sand. They get sand on them then. When they swim behind logs and against the bank, they'll get sand on them. When they swim under logs and hide, they'll be touching the sand. Sand isn't toxic to the fish. Hot, dry sand is very toxic to the fish. That's bad for the fish's protective slime, which I've spoken about a number of times. So don't worry about getting sand on the fish, but just try and lay it on wet sand. Now, if you want to land the fish and you don't know whether to use lip grips or a net, if possible use a net. Try and use a knotless net, a net without knots in it, because the knots can actually break the fish's slime. Try and use it like an enviro net or something. I don't, because when I'm backpack fishing, it's hard to carry a net when you've got a backpack on and a fishing rod in your hand. You've got to put the net down to make your cast and pick the net up and make a few more casts and go back for the net, and it's very, very labouring. So if you're going to be walking long distances, use lip grips. If you're in a boat or you're just fishing in one spot off the bank, a net is always better than fish grips. As for getting sand on the fish, if you have to beach the fish on the ground, just try and make it damp ground in the shade, cool, damp ground, and you should be pretty right, mate. I hope I've answered your question, Jared, and that's a very good question, thank you. J Cod. Hi Robbie, where can I get some top water lures like this one? Can you please put this in next week's video? J Cod Fishing, that's young Jaden. He goes to school with my oldest daughter. Cracking young fella. Mate, to be honest, Jaden, adventure camping and fishing in Wangaratta have got a wide range of surface lures for you to choose from. Go in there and see the guys and they'll be able to help you out. I know you're from Wang and I know there's a lot of lures in that shop, so pop in and see them. They don't sell the particular lure that you're talking about here, which was in my Depths NZ crawler review. But to be quite honest, mate, I don't know whether that's a perfect lure for you anyway. Those lures are great lures, but they're targeted more the more experienced fishermen's probably the best way to put it. So go into adventure camping and fishing, mate, and go and see what they've got to say. They have got plenty of surface lures in there. Hey Robbie, would you be able to give me a little baby truck on if I'm allowed to have one? A baby truck on. J Cod Fishing. Check out his video where him and his mate are fishing in a pond. Absolutely awesome. Now alright, right now, rightio. This one is from Fly Fishing Ninja. Been a fan of this guy for a while. He's actually just recently changed his name. He's not Fly Fishing Ninja anymore. His channel is called The Life of a Fly Fisherman. Go and check him out. I really like this guy, and I'll tell you what I really like about him in a minute. But first I'll answer his question. if you only had your fly rod to use and you could only use one fly for trout, what would it be and why? Mate, I would use my 4-weight. I've got a wild fish Cascade series rod, a 4-weight. I'd take that and I would use a black bead-headed nymph. The reason why is because I catch more fish on that fly than all my other flies put together. Usually I like to run a royal stimulated dry fly with a black bead-headed nymph underneath. The trout will hit the dry fly, the royal stimulator, when it suits them, but they hit the bead-headed nymph all the time. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, early in the season, late in the season, they tend to like that black bead-headed nymph. It must be a much more natural presentation. The royal stimulator is a generic fly that could mimic just something that might look like a good meal, whereas the nymph must mimic a lot of the little nymphs under the water. So my one and only fly would be the black bead-headed nymph, and I take my 4-weight wild fish fly rod. Now, this is the life of a fisherman, the life of a fly fisherman. Check out his channel. I'll tell you what it is I like about him. Earlier this year, YouTube made changes to their platform. A lot of people monetize their YouTube videos, and YouTube have come along and said, from now on, you can't be a part of the YouTube partner program. You can't monetize your videos unless you've got 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours worth of view time, I think, or something like that. Everyone cracked the snotties and was up in arms about it. And now this guy, the life of a fly fisherman, he was a little bit up in arms about it at the start, but he'd realised really quick in the piece, well, whinging's not going to get me anywhere. I've got to stop whinging and I've got to get on with the job. And he's then gone and pumped out a heap of videos. He's been live, he's done little bits and pieces of reviews, he uses a lot of initiative, he's accepted the bad hand that he was dealt, and he has just passed his 1,000 subscribers, and now he's working on his watch time right now, and then he's going to monetize his YouTube channel. Guess where everybody else is? They're still whinging. They are still whinging. That's why I call him Ninja, because he was fly fishing ninja, but once he hit 1,000 subscribers, he changed his name to the life of a fly fisherman. And I really admire the fact, mate, that you got off your fat bum and you went out and you chased your 1,000 subscribers when you could have stayed at home and gone on Facebook and whinge like so many others. You actually got out and dealt with it. And that's what I really like about you. So the life of a fly fisherman, check him out. He's an American fly fisherman. He's got the most awesome accent. It's a big bugger too. I wouldn't want to upset him. B. Harris. Hey Robbie, love your YouTube videos. Just wondering why you use a baitcaster and not a spinning outfit for cod fishing, and what are some tips for a baitcaster user to get better? I hope you asked this question in your Q&A. Cheers, Blake. G'day, Blake. That's a really good question. Baitcaster reels have advantages and disadvantages. The main disadvantage to a baitcaster reel is that it doesn't have anti-reverse. See, with a spinning reel, I love to use the anti-reverse. I don't have that option with a baitcaster. I have to use the drag only. That sucks. But what is good about it is that they cast with precision accuracy. See, with a spinning reel, you lob your lure and it lands where it goes. It's losing momentum as it goes through the air. With a baitcaster, it keeps the momentum going a lot longer and enables you to flick your lure underneath undercover branches and low vegetation. But they're a much more accurate rod and reel to cast. And casting accuracy is everything right across the board. Casting accuracy is the most important thing in the world when you're lure fishing. So I love to use the baitcaster for better casting accuracy. They cast heavier lures better than what spinning reels do. And that's about it. And also on here, you've asked about a baitcaster, how to cast a, what are some tips to cast a baitcaster to get better? Mate, go through my videos, my channel, and through my videos, and you'll see that I've made some tips on how to cast a baitcaster. Have a look at that video, and I'm sure you'll find all the answers in that video. Now I've got one here from Praddy, my mate Praddy. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Okay, that wasn't really a question. That was a joke. Check out Praddy's. Praddy's a good friend of mine. He's my photography mate. Occasionally we go fishing together, but we do a lot more photography together. Check him out, JA Photographics on Facebook. You'll see a picture of the little green man. You know, they've got the green and the red man, the traffic lights when you cross the road. You'll see a picture of a green man on his on Praddy's little thumbnail. JA Photographics. Overloaded Fishing has asked, hey Robbie, I'm planning on targeting some Murray cod up at my whaler during December. Do you have any specific go-to lures for that period of time? Thanks for a great episode. No, thanks very much, Overloaded Fishing. I appreciate your kind words. December, Lake Mulwala, that time of year, mate, pretty much any cod lure should work really well. I would definitely be using a surface lure on dark. Now, it depends what you're targeting. If you are targeting a larger fish, get something big like a coolabung wake snake or a coolabung cod cracker. Something really, you might not catch any little fish, or you might get boofs from little fish that don't hook up, but you'll increase the chances of enticing a bigger fish to come out. If you are just happy to catch a small cod and get a small on the board, get a score on the board, just get something small like a little 70 or 90 millimeter coolabung cod walker. I've been using the Codger jointed surface lures. You can get them at Trellies in Shepparton and they work really, really well. And during the day, Old Faithful #1 stump jumpers are as good as any, or old mate lures. They all work. December is the best time of year. Spinnerbaits, the Bassman DT spinnerbait in bright yellow colour is one of my favourites, and that works really well at Lake Mulwala in December as well. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much for asking, Overloaded Fishing. Now we've got Jaron Martin. Hey Robbie, what lure do you think is the best for yellowbelly, and could you please put this on your next Q&A, please? And thank you very much for the question, Jaron. I think it's Jaron Martin. Thank you very much for the question. I don't do a lot of yellowbelly fishing because in my area there's not a lot of yellowbelly fishing to do. But I think if I was going to, or if I was going to travel somewhere where there's yellowbelly, if the water's really dirty, I would definitely be going a good quality lipless crankbait like a jackal or something cheaper even, as long as it rattles really loud and vibrates. One of my favourite techniques for targeting yellowbelly isn't actually with a lure, it's with bait, but you use it like a lure. And that's to get a little live yabby, put it on a hook, run the line straight through the sinker to the hook, and just bob the sinker around the bottom with a live yabby, and just bob it in one spot. Now, if you haven't got access to live yabbies, you can do that with a small soft plastic. Failing that, the Halco Crazy Deep is a great yellowbelly lure. The Lure Jensen Hot Lips, the smaller size Hot Lips, they get down really deep and they work very well as well. Lipless crankbaits work really well. #2 stump jumpers are a great option. Basically any small to medium size hard body lure. Bassmen have got the Bassman Yellowman series spinnerbaits. Mudguts have got the little 3/8 series spinnerbaits. Let's try a smaller spinnerbait. They all work really well for yellowbelly. Basically, yellowbelly will take similar lures to redfin or similar lures to Murray cod, but you want something that's probably a bit bigger than what you would normally use for redfin, or a bit smaller than what you'd normally use for Murray cod. Yellowbelly are an all-rounder, so you'll still get them on bigger lures and you'll get them on smaller lures, but if you're specifically targeting yellowbelly, try and find medium-sized lures, like a #2 stump jumper is a great starting point. The Wilson Slickback in the smaller size, if you can find one, can be really good as well. I hope that answers your question, Jaron, and thank you very much for asking. Now, 22 tomorrow, 23, oh hang on, that's the wrong screenshot. I screenshotted the weather forecast. Rightio, Jonathan. Hey mate, I have another question for next week's Q&A. Do you have any other fishing rigs for river and lake fishing other than the paternoster rig and running sinker? Usually I use the paternoster rig almost exclusively when I'm fishing in rivers. I love the paternoster rig because it allows the bait to be up off the bottom and on display, and it also means that when the fish pulls the bait, the rod tip moves, the sinker doesn't move, it doesn't feel the weight of the sinker. But there are times where I use other options. Sometimes I use the running sinker, as Jonathan has suggested. If I'm fishing for trout in lakes, I will use a bubble float with a mud eye under it. Cancoban Pondage is a great lake for that. That's a totally different rig as well. Sometimes I'll even fish unweighted and just tie a hook straight to the end of the line with a great scrub worm on it and just wait ages for it to sink. That can work very well too. So there are other options, but I just don't use them very often. My favourite of the lot is the paternoster. Some people will tie the line, will run the line through the sinker and just tie it to the hook and fish a barley grub or a yabby that way, and that works for them. I'm not a big fan, I prefer my bait up on display, but that is another rig that you could try. So I hope that helps you out. Thanks very much for the question, Jonathan. Right, now here's a question from Jared Kelly. Hello, Robbie, I have a question I've been waiting to ask. Do you ever worry about turtles? In Pennsylvania, I have to worry about snapping turtles in the water that you never want to get bitten by. How cool is that? I'm not sure what's cooler, the fact that you've got snapping turtles or the fact that you guys watch my YouTube channel from Pennsylvania. Thanks very much for the awesome question, Jared. Mate, we don't have to worry too much about turtles. Our turtles are pretty placid over here in Australia. Maybe it's got something to do with the weed in the bottom of the river, makes them all mellow, I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, our turtles are harmless in my area. So, no mate, we never have to worry about them. The worst thing they do is they stink. If you pick them up off the road and move them to safety and a bit of water falls out of that shell and lands on your shirt, you're going to smell for the rest of the day. Other than that, they're all good, mate. Snapping turtles in Pennsylvania. So got to go over and see these one day. I went out for tea last night at the Pinsent Hotel in Wangaratta. I was sitting there at my table on my own enjoying my meal when a lady about 4 tables away sneezed. I looked up, and as I looked up I noticed her glass eye had come flying out of her eye socket when she sneezed and was hurling through the air. So I reached out and I plucked that eye straight out of the air. I looked at it. I didn't see that coming, I can tell you. But anyway, I looked at it, I took it back over to the lady and I said, "Excuse me ma'am, but you've lost your eye." She cried, she was so embarrassed. I said, "Don't be embarrassed, it's all good." She put the eye back in. About half an hour later she came and sat with me. And she started talking and said, "I'd like to pay for your meal to say thank you." And she bought me a beer. She was so nice, she was attractive, she was good to look at, but she was just such a nice lady. And I said to her, "Are you always this nice to just total strangers?" And you know what she said? "Nah, you just caught my eye." Rightio. Next one here is from Geordie Fishing for Life. For your next Q&A, if I move to Wangaratta when I am older, are there any universities there? Because I love cod fishing. Thank you very much, Geordie. Unfortunately, Wangaratta doesn't have any universities. Most of the people in Wangaratta that go to university travel up to Albury-Wodonga, which is only not even an hour's drive. It's about 45 minutes up the road. There's a few universities up there. In fact, one of my staff members at work is studying up there right now. She works for me in Wangaratta and then goes up to university during the week. So there are a lot of people that commute from Wangaratta to Albury to go to university, but to answer your question, no, there's no universities in Wangaratta, mate. Awesome! Shazam knows Cradle of Phil. Rightio folks, for my last question this week, I've had to come back to my shed where I've been doing some really cool work this week. I actually made myself a rod holder, a fishing rod holder, and I'm going to be uploading the video this Thursday night on how to make a simple DIY fishing rod holder. Make sure you stay tuned for that one because I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, let's get into this week's final question for this week's Q&A. Rightio, now, the question here is from Ollie Sharp. Ollie's a terrific young kid and he helped me out with a photo from my newspaper column recently. The question is, "Hi Robbie, is there any chance that you would sell me an old trout and or redfin combo? And it's totally fine if you say no." I know what to do, hang on, wait there. What about this one, Ollie? Little Akuma micro spin. Great little rod, little quantum reel on it. How about you just have it? You don't have to pay for it. I reckon you can just have it. I don't use it very often anymore. Still a great rod and reel, nice and lightweight, great for trout and redfin fishing. Ollie Sharp, I know you're on Instagram because you've helped me out. Send me a message on Instagram. Let's catch up and have a coffee or something with your mum and dad, and you can have my old trout fishing rod that I don't use very often. How cool is that? Because you know why I've done that for you? I actually replied to your message and said no the first time round. I said, "Sorry mate, but I use them all." But I was just kidding, because as soon as I got that message I thought, I'm going to give Ollie that Akuma. Because you helped me at a time when I didn't have a lot of fishing photos to go in my newspaper column one Wednesday. I said to you, "Can I use that wonderful photo that you put on Instagram?" And you said, "No worries mate." And I did, so thank you very much for helping me with a photo, and I hope you enjoy this fishing rod. Look me up on Instagram, let's message each other and establish contact and let's catch up, eh? Thank you very much for watching this week's Q&A, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've answered your questions thoroughly. Stay tuned because next week it'll all be happening again.